There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor soul, and me, oh God, for one. One foot is on the platform, the other one on the train. I'm going back to New Orleans to wear that ball.
Hey, wait. What are you doing?
I'm turning the Stacy figure to life now. No more games, okay? I just want Diva Marie back.
But we still have a few days left to do this.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe this exclaimer guy is right, and making Stacy the new mayor of LJV is exactly what this town needs, what this channel needs.
That guy. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Stacy. I'm here to make a change for LJV. I'm going to raise minimum wage, organize festivals, lower tax.
Don't make this harder for me, okay? Also, is that a British accent?
Hello, Aaron. Did you get my Queen of Hearts card with the message on the back?
Yeah, I got the card, but I didn't read the dumb thing because I'm done with your games, done with your riddles, done with your gifts, okay? That's it. Today, on the 4th of July at 4 p.m., I'm holding an official inauguration ceremony, and Stacy will become the new mayor of LJV. Alright, Stacy, with this badge, I officially appoint you as the new mayor of LumberJillville.
Boo! Boo!
Well, it's now official, Mayor Stacy. Congrats.
I promise to run this city with pride and...
Yeah, okay, we get it. You're going to be a way better mayor than I ever was and have way better legs than I ever will. Yeah, you happy now, Mr. Exclaimer? We now have a new mayor in LumberJillville. But there's one thing that's not going to change. I'm not going to stop reviewing women's wrestling figures.
Of course that won't change, but from here on out, Mayor Stacy makes the decisions. Mayor Stacy runs the town, and you and co-mayor Lexa are now nothing but disgruntled citizens of LJV. This channel needs a change to grow. You were holding it back.
You're lucky you aren't here, or I would.
You would what? By the way, I think I'm gonna hold on to Diva Marie for a bit. She's been good company.
What? No, that wasn't part of the deal. You told us we'd get Diva Marie back. Is she at least safe?
Sorry, time's up. Bye.
Did you read what was on the Queen of Hearts card? Maybe it was more clues.
No, I didn't read that Queen of Hearts card. You know why? Because I'm done with these stupid games that this psychopath plays with us, alright? I'm sure it was nothing anyway.
To New Orleans to wear that ball and chain.
Welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. And welcome to today's review of the brand new Basic Series 133 Natalya figure. Now, truth being told, I got this almost a week ago, but I was out of town. So I am back in town and I have this figure in front of me to review, so let's take a closer look. Alright, so starting off with the packaging here, as I've mentioned before in my reviews, I really do like this new style packaging as far as the basics go. I think that new color scheme of the red and the black looks real classy, and I love this blue line that has the series number. I think it looks really good. Now, with this figure in particular, we have a nice enlarged image of Natty wearing the attire that this figure is based off of, and on the back we have the rest of the series, and then we have that image enlarged here with Natty. Now she is classified as a technician here. And at the top, we also have her signature moves, which obviously the sharpshooter is the main one there, so that's definitely cool. Now, turning it back around, let's take her out and get a closer look. WWE Basic Series 133, Natalya. This attire is from the August 20th, 2021 edition of SmackDown, where the team of Shotzi and Nox would come out victorious over the women's tag team champions Tamina and Natty in a non-title championship contender match. Now, this was actually Natty's in-ring return after taking 3 weeks off with an ankle injury. Some overall first impressions of this figure are just okay. I mean, there's some things I really like about the figure and some things that are just kind of blah, just kind of average. And that's what you get a lot of times with these women's basics. Sometimes they don't put the most effort or attention to detail into the figures and they just kind of fall right in that basic midline there. But here there are some things I do like, and the main thing that stands out to me is the scale and sculpt of the figure. I think this really does resemble Natty a lot better than her Elite Series 74 figure, which I think is the most overrated women's elite figure of all time, and we'll do a little side-by-side comparison with that later. But for now, let's take a closer look at this basic itself, starting with that head sculpt and face scan. Alright, so starting off with the face scan, face sculpt, and the hair sculpt. Now, it is important to note, first off, that this is the same sculpt and scan that they used in that Elite Series 74. As far as I can tell, there might be some minor differences, but for the most part, it's the same thing. And we will do a side-by-side later, like I mentioned, and I'll show you that. And I think this scan really does a great and excellent job of looking just like Natty. Now, it is important to note that this scan might not be printed on perfect. That might be a tiny bit off on this figure in particular. Now, I did get two, one to keep MOC, one to open, and I always open the one that looks better, and this looked better than my other Natty that I got. And it's important to note that that other Natty, the scan was printed on wonky and it looked bad. So this Natty definitely looks a lot better, and it really does resemble her quite a bit from all angles. I also really like this hair sculpt. It looks real cool, very signature to her, and I do like that the color blonde is kind of a darker-ish sandy type blonde to make it look a little more realistic. Like I mentioned time and time again, I'd love to see streaks or roots or something to make the hair look more realistic on the women's figures, but I think it is what it is, and it looks good. So the scan, the sculpt, and the hair is all pretty good to me. Now let's move on to the body sculpt and the attire, where I think it actually stands out a little bit. Alright, so moving on down to the body sculpt and the attire. Now, side note, I am going to do this portion of the review with the figure on a display stand. I try not to do that, but this figure really doesn't stand too well, much like many women's basics, unfortunately, so I am going to have a display stand there for some stability. So, moving on down from the neck down of this figure, the body sculpt to me really stands out and looks great. Natty has a very muscular, strong physique, and they do a really great job simulating that here. A lot better than her previous figures of the past, in my opinion. So I think the sculpt and part choices here are actually pretty darn awesome. So that definitely gets a thumbs up. Now, moving on down to the attire, that's where it kind of falters a little bit. So obviously with these women's basics, we don't get a whole lot of additional sculpting or molding as far as the attire goes. A lot of it is just purely paint application, which sometimes can work and sometimes it can't. And here, I think there are some details that they didn't include that really hurts this figure. So starting off with that top there, so we see this red brassiere type top there, and it should be a sparkly red. So you can see it on the image of the front of the package. It should be like a glittery, sparkly red. So why they didn't use red metallic paint here, it beats me. It sucks. It's just a plain red. So that really kind of stinks. And then the rest of the tire that is painted on here, it's painted on fine, but there's a couple little sloppy areas here where it doesn't look the best. And then moving it on the back, they actually put a lot of attention to detail here with different layers of paint to make it look realistic and make it look like the top that she actually wore, even having laces painted on the back here. Now moving on down to the bottoms, they're just painted on, pretty bland here with black and the red design on the sides. And then moving on down to her boots, she has the black kick pads there, and a little detail I didn't notice until I opened up the figure is this nice Natty's logo on the side of the boot there. I think that's pretty freaking awesome that they included that. They didn't have to, but they did, and that's cool. Also, moving on to her arms here, going in reverse direction here, we see that her little arm, I guess gauntlets, sleeves that she wears, they are painted on pretty nice, so they did a good job there. So yeah, as far as the attire and body sculpt goes, I mean, I think the body sculpt is great. It definitely resembles Natty really well and captures her physique. As far as the attire goes, I think it's real lazy. You know, obviously they 99% of the time just do paint application as far as the attire goes on the basics, and they just really didn't go that extra effort by making that red metallic or glittery. And I think if they would have done that, it would have helped save this figure a little bit. All right, so now we're going to do a little side-by-side comparison. Now, it is important to say that Natty's had tons of figures released. She's even had Jax figures from back in the day. But even as far as Mattel figures go, she's had tons of figure releases, and a lot of them are pretty freaking awesome. One day I'll do a figure history of Natty figures by Mattel, because Mattel's released some bangers of Natty, let me tell you. But these are the most recent ones, so I just wanted to compare a small group here. So on the far left, we have that Decade of Domination Series 1 Natty. In the middle, we have that Elite Series 74. And on the right, we obviously have the basic 133 we're looking at today. And the first thing you'll notice is just how undersized that Elite 74 is. I mean, I'm telling you, looking at it in package, it looks amazing. It's a great MOC figure, but if you have an MOC, I would highly suggest you don't even open it, because it does look, in my opinion, silly when it's on the shelf next to other women's figures. It's way underscaled, really small. I think it was the part choices, and it's almost like because they put so much attention to detail and so much effort into the sculpting of these accessories and the tire itself, that they had to shrink it down for cost-cutting measures, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand it, but this isn't even on display in the background of my videos because it just looks silly. My daughter is pretty convinced that this is like a little girl. This is like a kid figure. And I'm like, nope, it's a woman. And Natty's 5'5", so she's really not that short. And she's really not that tall. So this figure, I mean, here's a comparison here. Okay, just to end my rant. So Zelina Vega is 4'11", and we put her Elite next to Natty, and they are like seeing eye to eye. And like I said, Natty is 5'5", so yeah, it's just an undersized figure. And I am going to say that I know scale isn't exactly followed by Mattel, but they always seem to be relatively in the same ballpark, at least with the figures and scaling. But this Elite 74, to me, I mean, I really can't suggest that as the best Natty figure because the scale is so off, it looks ridiculous. So, yeah, as far as the best modern-looking Natty figure, I think this basic 133 pretty much does the trick. Now, I am going to add a Women's Tag Team Championship to this figure in the next scene when we do one last look, because I think that would add to this figure, considering this is from the time where she was a Women's Tag Team Champion, so that'll be definitely cool. But if you're looking for the best Natty figure to have in your collection, I don't even think it's any of these that are sitting in front of us. That Decade of Domination one is cool for what it is, you know, really simulating early in her career, but she's had some really awesome figures, and one day I will do a history of Natty figures, at least by Mattel. And here's one last look at WWE Basic Series 133 Natalya. So overall, I give WWE Basic Series 133 Natalya an overall score of a 5 out of 10. To me, you can't get more average than this figure. Is it a terrible figure? No. Is it a great figure? No. And it doesn't help that Natty has had so many other figures released, and so many more better than this one, at least released by Mattel. So this one is just kind of plain, in my opinion. There are some things I like about it, like that face scan and sculpt that they reused from that Elite 74. I think that was cool. And I really do like that body sculpt. I think it works fine on her. However, the attire is just boring and bland, and they really did nothing to make it look that much more exciting or even more screen accurate. So that's why, to me, this figure kind of lies right in the middle. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. For our first look at all future women's wrestling figures, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Also, head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV to save 10%. Now, there are some really exciting figure reviews coming up, including Unmatched Series 4 Jade Cargill. So stay tuned. Have a great night, y'all.